everyone. Welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation, along with
CJ Lou from the Fire It Up with CJ show.
if you've ever struggled
Woo!
to
Woo!
if you've ever struggled to get things right but wanted a second chance, then do we have the We're Pregnant Again show for you.
Oh my God!
Gotcha. Today we'll talk about overcoming fears, getting back on the horse, and trying again until you get things right. That, plus we'll
Oh,
talk about 2-week meditation retreats, cloudy and rainy most of the time, connections to teacher, Pratibha, one breath, one sex, integration issues, Seattle snow, morning sickness proof smoothies, filing taxes, emotional meltdowns, the power of SCCR, crying on a mountain, tears of joy that is, failing tests twice, and what in the world getting clear on your vision, even when it comes to skis, has to do with anything. So
whoa.
welcome back to the show, CJ. Are you ready to
I
shine?
am ready to shine. Woo! All right. 2 weeks, a lot can happen to you, Michael.
You're not kidding.
Oh my goodness. So tell me more.
Well, I woke up this morning and I've been getting up earlier and earlier lately as we're trying to build a new rhythm into our lives. And we're working really hard on freeing ourselves from the mouse trap that we've built of being in the business rather than on the business. So
Mm-hmm.
we get up a little bit earlier and a little bit earlier still so we can bring some breath to the day and start building systems, putting pieces in place. And so I've been getting up a little bit before 4 this morning. Jessica got up at 3:30, and she said yesterday or 2 days ago she would have gotten up then, but she said she didn't want to disturb me. At this point, she was like, "Ah, heck with it." She got up at 3:30, and at about 3:50, she curls up next to me, and she goes, "She's back." And I'm thinking, here's Johnny, like, shining, which I was talking about with Mitch Horowitz yesterday. So it took me a minute to process. What does she mean she's back? Is she
Wait, it
talking
was this
Jessica's
morning?
back and on fire? This morning, we just found out. And this is failing test twice. When she told me the last time she was pregnant, I was in automatic writing, just had
Mm-hmm.
finished a meditation. And so I wasn't, woohoo! I was very much half here, not here.
Right.
At this point, it's 3:50 in the morning. I'm going, I need just a little bit more sleep before I get up and do my meditation. Just a little bit more sleep. And I hear, she's back. And I'm not processing.
You're scared.
Clearly, I failed twice, CJ. I should have been there ecstatic and giving her a hug and kiss.
Well, she's back is kind of an unusual thing. It could have been like baby's back or Hannah's back or like something. But like she's back is like kind of has a creepy
I was thinking,
tenor
here's
to it.
Johnny.
No, that's exactly what I thought when you said she said she's back. Wow, congratulations.
Just found
Wow.
out, and we are, what we learned from the first time is in this culture in Western society, particularly the US, we hide it. We want to keep it quiet,
Mm-hmm.
which doesn't allow a woman a support network,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't, from a law of attraction point of view, if you're hiding what you're wanting to bring about, that does nothing good from an energetic point of view. And then if something happens, heaven forbid, you have no support network built because you're trying to keep it all to yourself. So there's shame, embarrassment, isolation,
Yeah.
and on it goes. So we're blowing this out of the water, and it was her choice. She was already, from 3:51, she's on the phone with family on the East Coast, and
Wow.
by the time I'm done with my meditation, she's told almost everybody. What you think about, you bring about. So earlier
Wow.
this week, she had a sense about it.
Mm-hmm.
She asked me, it was very interesting. She asked me during our Ask Michael Anything event.
She did?
She's, she said, "Do you think I'm pregnant?"
Wow.
And my answer I would have done differently had I had time to think about it because I thought about it off air afterwards. On air, what I said is, I said, this is a very difficult question to answer because I love you very much and I want to protect you. I said, so I don't want to tell you I feel you're pregnant in case you're not pregnant yet, and then that's just going to crush you.
Mm-hmm.
Or I don't want to tell you I don't think you're pregnant. And then that's just going to crush you right away as well. I said, so there is no answer that I can give you to this question. Had I had it to do over again, and that is the theme of today, the
Yeah.
do over.
Hmm.
Had I had it to do over again from a law of attraction manifestation point of view, I'm going to go for it. And if she is pregnant, and I say because I was
What
hopeful,
did you sense when you tuned in internally? What was your sense?
my sense was confused. My muscle tense test was yes. My sense was confused because, if I am completely honest with everybody, we went on the usual pregnancy marathon,
Hmm.
and I was exhausted at the end of the marathon running the show that we're going. And she's going, I'm ovulating here. We got to go now.
I remember those times.
And folks, I had no problem in the biological department, but I was wiped.
Yeah, it's
And
hard.
so my emotional state was, I hope she's pregnant if it's from one of the early days. If it's from one of the later days, that's maybe not the ideal energy we wanted to bring. And so I didn't want to give an answer to this and even think about what it is. What it is perfect.
Yeah.
Had I to do over again, as far as answering that question, it would be, I do believe you're pregnant and I hope you're pregnant. And if you are, great. And if not, it's still all right. You will get pregnant next time around. But let's always concentrate on bringing that energy up. So
Mm-hmm.
I realized that quickly afterwards, but put on the spot between before thousands of people.
That's very hard. That's a hard question to
I
answer.
needed a moment for that one.
Wow,
So,
that is
but she has
fantastic.
had me this week. She's flipped a switch. She's been listening to Marissa Peer meditations on getting pregnant, and now it's going to be on conscious birth. And she may well crank out. I think we have a website on mindful pregnancy, and she may well go for that this time and share everything. She has a lot to offer. So we'll see what her energy levels are like.
Mm.
However, she came up to me starting 3 4 days ago, and she's like, "That's it, I'm pregnant. Start talking to the baby." And so she'd say, "Put your head down there and talk to the baby," and I'd be like, "Hello, hello, hello," and she's going, "Why are you echoing?" I'm like, "Because I'm going to be the most fun daddy on the planet, or at least that's my goal. I might as well start playing now."
We just saw a baby at maybe two. She said it was two. The mother said it was 2 years old, and the baby was like a little Buddha. Like if you really look at babies,
Right.
they're in between worlds. Like they're conscious. They have consciousness from a different place. They're one, still one with something greater. And then they see the little human being going like, "Hello, hello," and they're kind of like, "What? What's this?" So the baby literally reached. I saw the baby and I was like, "Hi," and the baby just reached his hand and grabbed me as if like he could grab my energetic form and then just bring it towards him. And it was this kind of unreal experience because like if you think that the baby is like in between these worlds of like being connected and then now kind of navigating this like I'm one with everything, now I'm separate, you could just see this kind of like grabbing. It's so interesting. Babies are fantastic.
I know now I will do a lot of joking with the baby. I also want to play it lots of all different kinds of music, particularly classical music. And but I also want to like, even though baby already knows everything, but I want to read it some Paul Selig and some great spiritual authors because it gets it. So might as well share what we have on the concepts on this side while it's still in. We are reading books right now, and I was reading them last time around, and I'm going to read them again now about how we have everything we know about a baby's development is completely backwards. The
Hmm.
baby comes in fully aware, fully concept, aware of itself, but aware of its connection to everything.
Yeah.
And when we do regressions with hypnotherapy and go back to birthing stories, for instance, the baby is fully cognizant and aware of the tunnel it's going through, everything that's taking place. So we might as well not just goo goo gaga the child up. We might as well do what we can to share, to enrich, to help grow, to explain, to express, to communicate. The whole works from basically day number one. Now, what the books guess at this point, the latest books, is that they're kind of flitting back and forth, at least first trimester, part here, part not. I think they're not fully parked, maybe until the end of second trimester.
Hmm.
But why not? I mean, we've been playing with that connection while we've been saying baby Hana's up here. Although I must admit, I wrote to her almost every day during first trimester before the miscarriage.
Hmm.
Then I was kind of wounded. And I didn't really write to her in this
Hmm.
in between 3 month interim. But I
Hmm.
want to really crank that back up now.
Yeah.
And that's part of the do over too, learning from that first time.
Right. Well, I met this gal on Anna during the meditation retreat, and her practice is working with the in utero baby, and she's in Berkeley. This is just like I love Berkeley because they just are so I don't know, more conscious almost.
I
So
get it.
she works with the baby in utero to get a sense of like how baby is feeling about coming out and being part of this world, and works with any traumas that the baby may have had or that the mom has with the baby, like all the different interactions that you can imagine. And that's what she does, which I thought, wow, that's so cool.
That's interesting because Jessica was talking with me about this a few weeks ago, and we did a motion code starting with Jessica again a few days ago. I tend to take the guest tools and tinker with it, and so I've kind of got the Michael code going on, and we were doing that to do some healing work on her to remove some energetic blocks from her miscarriage, and we get to go in and do that work in utero on baby as well, and I'm going to dive deep into a lot of that because not only baby may have wounds just being in there, um, meaning maybe from the miscarriage or for something else, but we all have an energetic imprint. We all have things that we came here to work on and things from either past lives or just baby from a physical perspective was in Jessica's womb, Jessica's egg, but Jessica's egg was in her mom as an egg, or
Mm-hmm.
as how does it go? It was actually the first cells of the egg that became Hana were in her mom's belly.
Mm-hmm.
So any wounds that took place in her mom before Jessica even existed can literally be in the DNA passed forward.
Yeah. I I I know that when there's a body of work called Enneagram, it's a
Yeah.
certain kind of personality, and it's based on one of the concept is that we're in this place of it's called holding. So we're in this beautiful holding. So you can imagine, in the mother's belly, the baby is like held in this warm, amniotic sac, and it's just beautiful and peaceful and wonderful and connected. And then music is playing.
Almost has like a tin drum
I have
Jamaican feel to
I
it.
have no idea how this is playing, but it my machine just turned on and is playing music. Um anyhow,
I like it.
I'm not surprised about anything anymore. Um what was I saying? I don't remember. Oh, I know. Oh, I know.
Enneagram.
No, so Enneagram, and so they talk about that during the process of separation from being one with everything to all of a sudden being separate. There's a wound that is created. Like the process of being one with everything and then going through the birth canal where there's like this sense of unknown, like almost like the bardo, where they don't know where they're going, but they know that they're no longer connected. There's that transition period. And then they come out the other side, and then the umbilical cord is cut, and they're separate. And during that process, there's like 9 different wounds that you can have during that process because in that process there's the fear of not existing because there's this bardo period where you don't know where you're going, when you're going to get there. And so the ego makes up a story for why you were separated to begin with and what's happening during this period of darkness. And then when you're born, it kind of has like this, like, well, this must have been what happens because I don't know what happened. And then that forms a lens in which you look at the rest of the world from that one of 9 different perspectives. And so I've been doing work with clients on that for some odd reason lately, and
Yeah.
it's super powerful because that one story that you tell yourself and why you got disconnected and where you were going during this period of the unknown and where you arrived on the other end and what you did in theory to cause this, it shapes our whole perspective on life. And so if you could just not have that wound happen, I don't know what it would be like. So I think it's wonderful that you guys are doing the work that you're doing.
It's interesting. I had a past life regression 2 years ago, 2 years ago,
Hmm.
in North Carolina, and it went back into my story, and my story was one of I changed my mind. I don't want this life experience.
Right. You're like, go, let me
And
go back. Let's go reverse back into where I came from.
and so I came out in a sense, at least according to this regression, and I'm about to. I never,
God bless you. God bless you.
I never sneeze on air. So this is the energy here.
Yes.
The energy of let me out of here. I want to go back. I didn't sign up for this.
Wow.
And came out with that energy of um, not happy I'm here at
Yeah, like,
next.
how did I get here? Let me go back home.
So
Yeah.
I didn't mean to sign up for this because according to the regression, I had this and I got it out of two different regressions, the Council of Elders or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, give me the works and sign me up for this, mom. I love you, mom, who will really challenge me in every way and give me the rough, unhappy, blah, blah, blah. I'm not trying to paint a sorrow story.
Right.
Whatever painful story I was going to get from my childhood, that's what I signed up for.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that in utero and said, get me the hell out of here.
You're like, wait a
It
second. Can I
was
go
too
back and
late.
re-sign the contract?
And so, we can call it original sin depending on the religion if we want. But I had my original wound, and that carried forth with me.
Yeah. Yeah. And those, so I think that I don't even know what your daughter's going to be like. What if you can kind of pre-anticipate those things and work with baby Hannah before, is it still Hannah?
Yeah.
Yeah, still the name. Okay. Baby Hannah before she comes out. That will just be a beautiful journey to witness and see what happens when you can work with baby. It's
Yeah.
just, this is going to be fascinating. Much
And
more conscious
fear,
birth.
fear versus love, because I go, oh, but what about all the things I carried forth, and what about all the things Jessica carried forth? And you could really it's sort of like, and I had a guest on about eating on the show just before this earlier today. It's sort of like eating something that's not ideal for you. Bless it, love it, send the most positive energy. We can only do with what we can do. So let's see what we can mold with Hana from this day forward.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we get to work with.
Yeah,
Going back
exciting.
to do over, I've been working really hard to eliminate shoulda and regrets in the new year
Mm,
because continuously we make decisions that, at least speaking for myself, you do the best you can and it still may not turn out the way you want.
mm-hmm.
And so, how can we release ourselves on a do over or on anything that we do from regretting things? And I think, particularly with a baby, with a child, all you get to work with is now and moving forward. No, the
Mm-hmm.
last moment is an infinity ago. You
Mm-hmm.
can't do anything about it. You can hurt yourself or potentially the child if you dwell on what took place, but we've got to just yank that rear view mirror off and go from this precious moment.
Yeah, that's a good way of thinking about it. So I want to ask you the other question about morning sickness proof smoothies.
So in the first go around, she got not morning sickness but queasiness.
Mm-hmm.
So and I was we did smoothies over the summer, green smoothies over the summer. It
Mm-hmm.
started to get cold for the fall. We stopped them
Mm-hmm.
because we kind of try to eat seasonally, or the body doesn't usually want something cold
Yeah, it's hard to
in the
drink cold smoothies when you're in snow, which I am
exact.
right now. It's snowing outside in Seattle, shockingly.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
And I hear this is supposed to be a really goodie for you guys too.
This is supposed to be Snowtopia, like the gigantic snow that hasn't hit since 1990. Supposed to be
Awesome.
like 6 to 12 inches, which in Seattle is rare. People,
So
yeah, people actually showed me pictures of people who've cleared out grocery stores. Like if you go to grocery stores, they're cleared out because people are freaked out with the snow. So, which I find
so
is funny as an East Coaster. But
yeah, and here in the mountains,
yeah,
6 to
you're
12
like, that's funny.
people get happy. They get their ski gear ready, but
Yeah, people are freaking out here.
but I wish for I at least here to me there's no such thing as too much snow. So I want it kind, gentle, easy, good, and safe for everyone and everybody to be able to be safe. But then may it be the most beautiful winter wonderland for you.
Okay.
And may the kids get to romp and play. Going back to the green smoothies, we stopped the green smoothies after the summer,
Hmm.
but then the day she found out she got pregnant, she's like, crank them back up. And I would do it with warm or even hot water so that it's a warm smoothie.
Hmm.
It doesn't taste bad. I wouldn't make it hot because you're using frozen berries, for instance, in there.
Hmm.
But so it's easier to digest and it doesn't freak out the system in the winter. But I had to do so much tinkering in the fall to work
Hmm.
with her hormones so that smoothie didn't make her nauseous or queasy.
Hmm.
And now I feel like we've got two things going for us. First off, her body probably understands it's only been a few months since her miscarriage.
Hmm.
So her body was figuring out the hormones then. It may have an easier time, is our guess, and what you think about you help bring about. I'll take a placebo effect. She may have an easier time getting into hormonal balance. And I had 3 months to practice with getting the green smoothies right, pulling out this, tweaking the recipe here to try to give her a queasy free green smoothie each morning for this first trimester.
Okay, what's included in the smoothie? So it's like kale, ginger, like what's in there?
Kale, spinach. I yanked out the ginger, even though ginger is good for the stomach.
Hmm.
Um, Cranberries for the urinary tract, blackberries, blueberries, tiny bit of banana or pineapple just for a tiny bit of sweetness. Certainly, apple is in there. More strawberries, which is kind of a soothing fruit.
Hmm.
I don't know why. It doesn't have maybe the sharpness of too
That's a
much
lot. So
blueberry.
apples and so I like the antioxidants, blackberries,
Yep. Yep. So we
cranberries.
got
Okay.
blackberries, cranberries, blueberries, strawberries, apples, oranges. Is there anything else in the fruit department? Tiny bit of banana, tiny bit potentially of pineapple. I think we're good on the fruits side of things. Then we have kale, we have spinach in there, pulling off the bottom of the kale so it's not quite as much roughage. Now here's where you've got to be really careful. I want a complete omega fatty acid spectrum for baby's brain.
Hmm.
But if I put too much fat in there, it makes her queasy. So I have to get just the right ratio of hemp seeds, chia seeds, and flaxseed powder
Hmm.
that it's not too overwhelming for her.
Hmm.
A little bit of spirulina, which is kind of nature's mineral supplement.
Hmm.
Um, and I believe there's probably one or two things that if I was making it right now, I'd remember, but that's about it off the top of my
I know
head.
someone was
I,
throwing avocado in there, and I thought I was just at this meditation retreat, and people were throwing avocado, which tastes amazing as a
so
fat.
I will try that. We do have avocados through the day, and I have done my best to pull out her ghee and give her avocado oil.
Hmm.
She's resistant, and whatever she wants is what she should have.
Peanut butter, almond
Um, she's
butter,
she's having almond butter through the day. I'd love to get her some sunflower butter or sunflowers, not sunflower butter, sunflower
seeds.
seeds. The sunflower seeds, putting them into the smoothie made her a little queasy.
Yeah, no,
She
that's
is
got
having
too
a
much roughage too.
so she is having a ground up organic almond butter that she's been craving lately.
Hmm.
So that's good as well. Um, I do often give her a ginger lemon first thing in the morning, ginger lemon juice hot water drink before she has her smoothie.
Yeah.
Uh, and that seems to go well, but putting the ginger in the smoothie hasn't. Then once hers comes out, I may add some cacao nibs, particularly during the Olympics. We were giving me maca powder and ashwagandha, but both of those would actually make her a little bit queasy.
Hmm.
She does add a an amazing prenatal supplement that's in a powder form that she takes as well. Probably with the hemp seeds and stuff, I've got her protein intake covered in that morning smoothie as well.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that sounds like quite a bit of food. She's probably not hungry for the whole day after drinking that.
Just for the gym. After the gym, she's ravenous. She's
She's
ready
eating
to
for
go.
two. Well,
So,
that's
and
great.
I have double the smoothie that she does, and I'm ravenous afterwards. But on the other hand, I need to make sure because in the first few months last time, if I didn't get that ratio right, then she'd be queasy. Then she wouldn't want to get to the gym, and it'd start everything off wrong. So you
Oh,
gotta
yeah.
gotta make it really. It can't taste medicinal at all.
Right.
This has to be a very lightly sweet, not syrupy, very lightly sweet
Is it like half a
tasty.
banana or how much sweetness are you putting in there?
Oh, quarter of a banana,
Oh,
maybe
wow.
like that. The apple takes care of more of the sweetness.
I see.
And even the orange, which has other flavors to it besides sweetness, but even that orange handles it.
Wow. Yeah, so it's a multivitamin smoothie.
Absolutely. Basically, the concept here is how much as her body is willing to accept. Because what I've learned about women's bodies in pregnancy is they eat what they want to eat. And I don't mean they like somebody else. Your body tells you, here's what I want right now. And if you have something else, you're going to feel bleh.
Yeah, no, I was
So
like Chinese broccoli. I could not stop eating Chinese broccoli
then that's
throughout the
what
whole
you
day.
eat.
Yeah, so I just ate Chinese broccoli all the time. It's such a bizarre thing, but I just wanted to eat broccoli all
So
the
so
time.
So the concept is how much can I overdose her with nutrition
Hmm.
first thing in the morning? So if she had not so much a Chinese broccoli, but let's say she had a saltine cracker for the
Right,
rest of the day diet or something,
right.
I've got her covered.
Hmm. Not doing a bunch of empty calories on like
Bingo.
garbage food. Yeah, for her and a baby. But at the same time, you kind of want, she's probably craving salt if she's eating
Yeah,
saltines all day.
well, and she isn't. That's just I'm using it as an example. But if she did, you're right. I would probably go and start sneaking a pinch of sea salt. Look at what she's craving, and start
Right. Putting
sticking
that
a
in there.
pinch.
Yeah, minerals from the sea salt that are in there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get
Wow.
to try over, and that's the cool thing. That's what today is about no regrets, no shoulda, woulda, couldas. But when you get that chance, what can we do differently? What can we do, quote, better? How can we tinker and play with this thing?
Well, I've been practicing that. So I've been at a meditation retreat for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
and I would it starts off at 6 a.m. where I go to the Nityananda Shrine in Kauai. So 6:30, then 8:30 to 8:30 to 9:30. They're about 45-minute meditations. Then there's a meditation at 9:30. Then there's a talk, which is basically a talk version of a meditation from 11 to about 12:30, 12. And then there's lunch, and then which is not a meditation. And then you have the whole afternoon off until you come back at 6:45 for another meditation, and then right before you go to sleep from 9:30 to 10 you have another meditation. So every single day time you have like an opportunity to like deepen your practice over. And it was interesting because in the morning it seemed like that was my time to kind of like my mind would be like just jumping all over the place first thing in the morning. And so I'd go there and I would just watch my mind going here and there and there and thoughts and this and blah 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 and just watch it. And then and it's not as if it's a mistake, but it's not what you ideally want to be doing with your energy because instead of having your energy moving up vertically from earth to the heavens, let's say they don't use this language, but I'm just using language that most people can understand.
Yeah.
So they're using this energy to move upward from your current state to a more elevated consciousness. And so when your thoughts go this way, that way, and you're doing, you're just taking all of your energy and you're dispersing it, and every thought, every pattern, every action is energy that goes that moves instead of vertically moves horizontally. And so I'd watch during that morning meditation, just like, wow, it's like a fireworks show in here.
Wow.
And then in the afternoon, it's like I'd be like, well, that was interesting, that fireworks. And it's like no judgment. It just stuff like that happens. Your mind is going to do, before it gets trained, it's going to be, and even when it is trained, I mean, the very last day of doing this for 14 days, the very last meditation was probably the worst that I ever had. And then I thought, well, it's the worst meditation of this retreat. Okay. You know what,
I'm going to put that in quotes for you.
yeah.
Worst.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, well, and then, I said that this woman said, well, how was it? And I said, it was the worst meditation I've had during retreat. And she said, but it's still energy. You're still sitting in the presence of energy and absorbing that. And the next meditation was correspondingly very deep. Like it's deep. It's almost like I had to get all the trash out there, throwing out all the random disparate thoughts. And then the next one was like, and I was able to kind of like center in to the point where they say that it's like a rod, like you feel like almost like you're a rod that's pinned up and
Wow.
down, because it's like your energy is so strong and vertically directed in one direction that it's just like a rod. And so, yeah, so every day I had that kind of, okay, time to do it over again. And if you do it over again, it's no, just sit down and do it over again. I think it's the suffering
Mhm.
and making stories out of the when it does go horizontal, that actually takes more energy. But if you're like, okay, that's just what it is, and then just focus again, just like with you guys, right? When you were having your second try with the baby, right? You could have gone all, you know, horizontal. Oh, how about that? I'm fearful of this. Da, 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 da. We shouldn't told blah, 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 all that stuff. And you're just like, no. We're just, the baby is coming. We feel the baby is here. It's here.
It's interesting. It's something parallels, which is I've done heart coherence work since I guess it was July,
Hmm.
using
With that thing.
yeah, that heart math
Yeah, you're
device,
still doing it. Yeah.
and still doing it. Absolutely love it. And a couple weeks ago, maybe less, um I'm exhausted. Jessica's hormones are completely off the charts. I think it was embedding at that point. And so her hormones are all over the place. She's attacking me out of
Ferocious
hormonal
pain.
anger, and it's not going well for either of us. And it's just life. It's just life. And if you're a close couple, it's gonna happen.
Right.
And I'm going and I'm doing my heart coherence, and you can watch the numbers and you can watch the beautiful curves. And it had crashed to the freaking floor. And I'm looking at this thing, and there was a day or two, the numbers go from like zero point 0 to, one is coherence, two is higher coherence, three is a higher coherence, all the way up. We had on Howard Martin about it. He says he's seen the numbers up to 13, but one is like baseline.
Right.
And when I used to do it prior to this, I would never go below three. And so it would be in
Hmm.
high coherence the whole time. And for a day or two, I couldn't even come close to one.
Oh,
Just, I couldn't get anywhere. And it's this ragged line, and it looks like a Richter scale rather than a smooth anything.
is that the
And I'm
emotional
like,
meltdowns that you were talking about earlier?
yeah, it's just, yeah, it is. I'm just gonna sit here, and if the whole thing doesn't work out, I still just sat here, and it's perfect. I can even laugh at the fact it would be as if going from a pro bike racer to not remembering even how to ride a tricycle or training wheels,
Yeah.
and you just be with it.
Yeah.
That's it. Like you said, suffering. If we let go of the attachment, well, I'm a this, I'm a meditator, I'm a heart coherent 3.0, whatever it is,
Right.
just be,
Yeah.
just
Well,
be.
the very first week, it's very interesting because with this practice, the last time I did it, the very first week is kind of is just like it's like melting an iceberg, where you know how I'm sure you get this in Colorado where if it's been snowing and you have several layers of snow and ice compacted together, then it gets like grass mixed in with it with dirt from the tires and it has this kind of crusty, it's white on the inside, but then it has these like little black crusty little twigs and dirt and crap leaves in there. And so I feel like what I do is as I roll into the retreat and I'm like one of those big crusty ice balls, right? And so the literally first week is just melting, melting. And sometimes it's like anger and it comes in the form of, seriously, do you really like you're living in community with other people? So you have Jessica and you've worked out all the details of like, oh, Jessica is in this mood, therefore I'm going to do this. Gideon is doing this, therefore I'm going to do this or say it this way because if I press that button, like all hell's going to break loose. So you just like when you're a
there were
couple,
some buttons.
yeah, when you're a couple, you like figure out the algorithm for like making your spouse and kids like in a peaceful environment. But when you live in a retreat center where you're sharing a room with different people, that person may snore. You have and you're like, oh my gosh, or like have these little idiosyncrasies or people who like there were just all these things that would just kind of boil up. And then I'd just sit in meditation and just like let it melt away. And then as those things kind of melted away, then there was another layer of my own stuff, that kind of like anger, pain, frustration, melting away and melting it away. And then by the time the second week came, you could start seeing like big white flecks of snow. We were like, aha, there is a white snowball underneath there. And then even that melts away and melts away until, you see light, just pure light, but it's covered with like, compacted snowball and it's, got all sorts of different things and then like crud around it. But what's interesting, as you're saying, is that when you don't invest into if you're like, oh, there's a little dark twig or piece of mud that slid down, and you don't go like, I'm mad. Well, why is she always mad? Why does that person why would they put the peanut butter jar in the refrigerator this way? Like all those kinds of things. When you just like, okay, it's nothing. It's nothing. This is just, it's so much easier when you can do it that way. Don't add suffering onto the emotions.
Those meltings are the teachings. And
Yeah.
if we can bring compassion to ourselves. So I had a melting I thought I wasn't going to share, but I'll share. And I don't have a final outcome to it, but it's an example. And I don't mean it as an example from a vanity point of view. I mean, just watching the mind, which is, I told you, my beautiful Tesla started collecting all these rock chips from day number 1
Oh,
to where I
no.
stopped driving it
Oh,
and parked it because they said the real cold and the wrap is too brittle for getting hit by any rocks. We didn't see this coming. I'm like, are you telling me my Tesla is like a starter car? I get to learn all these things that I didn't know. This should not be a starter car. Jessica's like, what do you mean it's a starter car? I'm like, I had no idea that you have to watch this about the wrap and you have to think about this and think about that and all because I've never really had an exotic car before.
right. Right.
So I've actually had a Porsche and a Maserati, but they were not exotic compared to this thing. And so I had to park it until we could get a vinyl wrap put on the front of this thing.
Oh, okay.
I'm actually Googling companies and emailing them going, I can't believe I'm going to ask this, but I need to put a wrap on my wrap or a wrap on my car to protect my wrap, a clear, thicker rubber
Right. Like a
to go
polymer,
over it.
like some type of polymer to kind of stop it from scraping and chipping.
Yep. So found a place locally, looked like they did a good job. This guy has done it for years and get my vehicle over to it excited after we had parked it. We literally didn't drive it for almost a 2-week period,
Oh my
which
gosh.
the car still doesn't have
But
500
do you have
miles on it
two
because
cars?
yeah.
Okay,
So
so you
we're
were
good. We've been
okay.
driving and we've been driving our Honda CRV. We call her Curvy, and
Hmm.
Curvy has been great, getting us here and there and everywhere. Um, although your driving habits radically differ once you get a Tesla, and you get real confused at first, you've got to retrain your mind because in a Tesla, when you take your foot off of the gas, it goes into regenerative braking and
Oh.
it slows the car quite quickly to charge the batteries. So
Oh.
you learn how to use a gas as a gas and a brake. Uh, you do that
Oh,
on a Honda, you
interesting.
take your foot off of the gas, it keeps going.
Right.
So you have to learn. And at first, like I had a cattle guard, look at the great thing
Yeah.
that entering a 20-mile-an-hour zone, we caught air. We were doing like 45 in Kirby, like a scene out of Ferris Bueller. And Jessica's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Wrong car." She's like, "You never do that in a Tesla." I'm like, "No, you take the foot off the gas in the Tesla and it hits the brakes." No cattle were injured in the making of this podcast. So we get this wrap put on it,
Uh-huh.
and we go to pick it up, and he shows me, looks around, it looks really good. I go and I pay for it, and Jessica comes in, and she's kind of looking ghostly pale white, and she's like, and I'm like, do you have a question? And she goes, can I show you something? And there is the equivalent on the front of a giant Band-Aid off on the right side of it, and it looks, to me, awful.
Oh
And he said,
no.
well, that's the way the seam comes together, and to protect it, I had to do this, that, and we doubled it up.
Oh no.
And it
You're like, that's
looks,
oh.
oh,
Was that why you're crying?
no, that was tears of joy. We'll get to that. So,
Okay.
so I had already paid him. We needed to get going for me to coach or to do a show. I guess I was to do
Hmm.
an Ask Michael Anything. I left and I haven't driven her again yet. It's been a snowstorm for the last few days, so I couldn't really drive her. I haven't really looked at her, but what I have done is looked at my emotions around this.
Mm.
And so my emotions at first and my ego is throwing a field day. The I can't believe it. This car is a work of art. You've worked so hard for this car. You don't have a scratch, so to speak, on this car. And now to protect the car, it looks like it's been boo-booed in the front end. And it's been band-aided over a boo-boo. And I didn't even do the boo-boo. And so you get to watch these meltings are the teachings. I know.
Sorry.
It's okay.
It's funny.
But you get to watch
Oh.
your mind.
Yeah.
And so, will the car be better? Well, the worst case scenario, we will end up spending a bunch of money and taking it back to the original gentleman in Denver, which we didn't do for this because it would have taken 2 work days out of our lives to do that, to
Mm.
get a clear coat, and it would have gotten dinged up getting to the clear coat.
Mm.
And
Because
I
it's
will,
because of the snow then, right? It's would it, and
the
the weather
rocks,
temperature.
the rocks that they put on the road and the debris they put on the road to try to give you traction. It kicks up little stones and stuff everywhere.
Ah, okay.
So the front end has this Band-Aid on it, and then there was a second thing wherever there were chips, he ended up taking this extra material. He said you'd never see it, and instead it looks a little bit like
Freckles.
freckles or chicken pox on the front of this thing. Jessica's like, don't worry, most of them will be hidden by the license plate. I'm like, oh my God. They're learnings.
They
They're,
are. That is the learning to let go. That's the hard one. That's a hard one, though. Maybe
well, and
you
I
can
will
ask your
speak with
spirit
him.
guides to give you less expensive learnings.
I would love it. And because I'm so proud of this car. It was such a long journey to get
I
to this
know. It
car.
was part of your
Love it
vision.
dearly. But life is not perfect.
Yeah.
There is no perfection. I can shoulda, woulda, coulda myself into the ground on this. Well, you could have gone to this other person. You could have done this. You could have. It's an ism. I call them isms. It is as it is. We work now on the internal job. Will I speak my piece with him out of the most kind and loving and compassion and tell him what I love about the job first and say, is there a way we can do something about it? And if not, I'll get it to my other guy. But I will treat him with all the love and kindness and compassion. He just may not be an artisan of repairing something if there are rock chips.
Right.
He's wrapped vehicles when they're pristine, not when they got chipped. It
Right.
even picked up 2 or 3 chips getting to him.
Mm.
So, but this is a hard one to swallow, and it keeps coming back, and I keep watching it. There's such beautiful teachings because let's face it, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It really matters zero. The car has a chip or a ding or a whatever. Doesn't matter. The car has a bumper, no bumper. If you can still drive it and it's safe, it doesn't matter. But our mind attaches so much silly importance and significant and then blows it out of the water as this is the great. And I felt like crap when I came home. I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
I'm like, I went to protect it, and now it looks like Rocky has been in a fight.
Well, you know the they have this idea of wabi sabi. You know
I,
that the Japanese wabi sabi, where it's like they take it's like the beauty and imperfection, and so they would take like a vase
it's
that
my
had been
wabi
broken.
sabi bumper.
Yeah, they'd like take a vase that had been broken into like five pieces, and they would glue it together. And there's this beauty of the imperfection of life because that's what's represented by that vase.
It is on the right front corner of the car, and I have a right tooth that got damaged in a speed skating fall years ago. And I said somehow symbolically we're a match. And I remember this girl that I dated. Well, I didn't just date her; I was engaged to her. But we're going to leave that story alone for now. I was engaged to somebody before Jessica, but she had teeth that had kind of been through a little bit of the ringer, and I looked at her with kindness and compassion and a connection to the wabi sabiness
Mm-hmm.
that here are the two of us beautifully imperfect together.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever comes out of it, and it may be that that band-aid, so to speak, and I'm sure as big as it seems in my mind's eye, nobody else will probably even notice. It's
Right.
just I go right to it. Jessica went right to it, but they're there to serve us.
Yeah. It's almost shifting your definition or the way you see beauty, right?
Yeah,
It's because beauty in the Western sense is just like the bright yellow, unaffected, like perfectly pristine, no dents, no pockmarks, no band-aids. That's like the perception of what beauty is. So it's almost like altering your perception of what beauty is. But it's hard. So when I was sitting in meditation, I started saying like, okay, it's clear that there are themes that are coming up. And so my themes are almost like personas or different aspects of how specifically my mind gets lost. So if you do Vipassana meditation, they ask you to say, okay, feeling, thought, um, feeling, thought. Like you'd label each time you'd have something. And then when I did that many moons ago, probably like 10 years ago, I would find planner. It's like future planner. Like most of my thoughts even had a category, and the thoughts were categorized as of planning for the future. And this meditation, I started seeing like, oh, there's the person who's planning for the future. There's someone who's optimizing, who's constantly optimizing for efficiency. That's just running in my head. And then there's the helper and wanting to be helpful and to help other people. And then there's the problem solver. And then there's the curiosity seeker. And I could start seeing all these parts that curiosity is a beautiful thing. Problem solving is a beautiful thing. All of these things are beautiful things, like planner optimization. These are all things that are wonderful, except that when they become oversized, they become compulsive, and
yeah.
your mind can't be still. Then these things that in and of themselves right sized are beautiful, wonderful attributes end up becoming like monsters in your head. They're just like, how about if I do this? Well, if I do that, then I need to do this. And and then it's like, oh, where am I meditation? 3 minutes of that rant that started with, I wonder if I can do, and then boom, like went off to the races. But I started to just see these various personas that kind of came up, and I'm wondering what it is about what would be equivalent. So like from talking to you throughout time, you have the competitor. That's one of like, you're riding your bike and you're like, woohoo, ah. There's a part of you that it's like you've evolved to, you can be competing in a race, but it's like an inner competition. But like each of these personas has evolved, so you've kind of right sized it over time. So I'm just curious, what's that persona that wants that car to be perfect?
Rather than, I don't know how to define it as a persona. I've been observing it. I've
Yeah,
literally
what
gone
if you
into
found out? Yeah, I
meditation,
do
and
whatever.
I've
I'm
been
just using how I look
watching
at, yeah.
and looking at it, and it all comes back to the same thing for me,
Hmm.
which is what I'm really diving into now. Fear of, quote, screwing up, and then regret. What it makes me feel at the end of the day is and I'm trying to ban this term from my vocabulary, but I'll use it here for the purpose of educations, shouldn't have gone to him. I should have gone to somebody else. I screwed up by choosing to go with him. And then that band-aid becomes a representation in my face of, look, you screwed up again.
Ah, okay, so there's this screw up. You're running away, like, oh my gosh, a screw up
Why didn't
persona.
you go to the guy in Denver? Forget about the fact it would have taken 2 work days, and that to you means a hell of a lot in
Yeah,
my world.
yeah.
Forget about the fact that it would have cost twice as much as well. You made all these choices based on good information, but no, this proves it, Michael. You can't make a good decision. You screwed up. And those are the voices that go on. And I can watch them all day long. And it's my lifelong, so far at least, wiring or gift that I was given from my parents. I probably mentioned this on another show. Patriots won. This time was, I think, my mom's first time. She didn't hide in a room without a television and watch the game because we're from New England, because she felt and knew in her heart of hearts if she watched the game, she would cause them to lose.
Right.
So that's the amount of power I was taught we can have in screwing up in
Wow.
our lives. And so it's pointing it out. Look, you goofed. Look, you blew it. And
Right.
so I get to watch that and say, is that real? And maybe what I should choose to do is actually thinking about it. Maybe I get to keep that and
Right.
use that as my teacher. That's my teacher mark rather than, and so that's a reframing that is there to teach me the blessings of there is no perfection. I mean, I'm sure I've shared with you the story of, and it's probably more of an urban myth. Guy buys a top of the line bicycle, asks to borrow a bike wrench from the
Oh, and
guy at Pet
smashes
Wrench
it up.
Shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's what it is. Then you can let go. So that's what I've been watching is how do I move past that regret? Because that regret actually has some anger in it. It
Right.
has some fire behind it that comes from maybe my mom yelling at me with spittle, hitting me in the face, telling me what kind of a screw up I am as a kid.
Right.
And then me wanting to attack myself first. Because if I can call myself a screw up before my mom, maybe I can save her from verbally beating me, so to
Right. Or
speak.
when
So
she
I
when
will
she
attack
does
myself.
that, you're kind of like, okay, what? I've already beaten myself up because of this. Yeah.
Bingo. So I am watching this and all the action. So it is blown way out of proportion, but I can watch the out of proportionness and say, all right, gift, painful gift, gift of a wrap, of a band-aid, of a whatever that I really didn't want. Thank you for this gift. What can I learn from it?
I in my meditation, um, during there's the lecture portion, and he said, we all want to get rid of our egos, and you hear all these shows like you need to get rid of your ego, and he's like, I hate to tell you, you're not going to get rid of your ego. And he said, and actually the trying to get rid of your ego is almost as painful as like the existence of your ego. And your existence of the ego overshadowing something far more beautiful that's inside of you. I'll put it that way.
Hit the nail on the head.
So I thought about that and I thought, okay, I've been kind of bashing myself because the planner showed up. I'm like, really? The planner again? Can't you just sit down and shut up? Like, come on. And I was just getting mad at the planner. And then finally I thought, okay, if this is a person, and I did like in my life run across a planner, I would say, okay, like I do this with teams. I have a team member. They're really good at planning. So I said, I want you to plan out the most efficient path for doing this meditation. Like I'm doing this meditation, but I want you to watch me and tell me what I can do to
You
become more
recruited them
efficient.
on the team.
Yes, I recruited them
I
on the
love it.
team. And then I thought, oh, you're curious about, whether it's going to be sunny out or curious about what trail you're going to go on today. Like, why don't you get curious about what happens when you just tune inside? And so it's a combination of recruiting that part of you that doesn't want to this is what I learned, at least from this is what here are the tricks that I came up. One is
I
recruiting.
came up with a label. I came up
Yeah.
with a label, and we'll call it the perfectionist.
Okay,
Perfectionist
perfectionist.
out of safety, but maybe we can recruit the perfectionist. So keep going. But
Yeah,
where you're
so I
going to
so so
draw
I
in the
yeah,
perfectionist.
so I would recruit my, planner, my curiosity, and I'm like, okay, recruit it, and I recruit him like, now focus on this. Focus on pulling all your energy. Get curious about pulling all your energy. Plan all of this thing. Figure out the best route. Like I'll optimize. Like, please come here and help me. Do not focus out there on all these things. Just focus on the inside and use all these gifts that you have to bring to do it. And then like something would come up and like, but so let's say my planner would be like, but I'm worried about like, how am I going to get my run in if we're going to be doing the meditation earlier, And I'd say, it's okay. It's okay. I'm so glad that you're planning. So anytime something would come up, I'm so glad that you're planning. Could I ask your help in focusing on? So it's like not letting, because what's happening is it's not right size, right? It's not a problem when it's this size. It's a problem when it becomes this size, right? It just double the triples the size and it takes over your whole existence. So if I could just add more light and just have it be like a little speck, like this little teeny speck instead of this gigantic, sun that blocks out everything, or actually, I don't know, more like dark moon, something that blocks out everything. It helps. So just kind of right sizing it and then recruiting it and loving it. Like, thank you so much for bringing that up. Can I have you do this instead? That helped me, my meditation. I don't know if it would help in your circumstance or
Well,
not.
it does, and it's interesting because you can think of the ego as an amplifier. It
Yeah.
will take something that could be a real deal. Okay, you went in to make the car better, and instead it came out worse.
Yeah.
That's well, worse is subjective, but it didn't come out in the same shape it went in a
No,
sense.
you had an expectation of what would happen and your
Yes,
expectation wasn't met.
certainly. And then the ego will amplify it and amplify it and amplify it. But I know how we can cool it down. And you said it. I'm so glad that really, if we go back to our core, and we don't have to label it, but I'm going to label it for fun, we're helping our wounded inner child,
Hmm.
which is grabbing one of those tasks to help itself, to protect herself, to protect himself.
Yeah.
And if I can tell my wounded inner child, it's okay. It's not perfect, but it's okay. You're still loved. It's okay. It's okay. I will go from to all of a sudden I'll start to feel a lot better. And
Hmm.
that's what you're doing, giving your each element of your inner child, giving her a job
Hmm.
and then telling her it's all right and telling her how much I'm so glad that what you're really saying is you're loved, you're appreciated.
Yeah, thank you so much for creating such perfection. It's because of you that your shows have a far better sound quality than my shows because you care. I can honestly say that, and that there's a certain level of perfectionism that you have, and it results in shows that people don't write like in my shows. The sound of this Joe Dispenza thing sucks. Okay. But because you have that, there's a degree of fit and finish and polish that my shows don't have. I mean, and admittedly. And so that's beautiful. I mean, it's a beautiful trait to have. And you're constantly, because you're trying to perfect things, you're constantly working on your schedule. So this year, right? So
Oh
that you
yeah.
can like do the 80/20
Systematize,
rule. Yeah,
systematize.
systematize. And that's what's making the show even better, like so that you can spend less time. So it's a beautiful thing, this perfectionist piece, as it is the one that goes, oh no, I have a band-aid on my beautiful car. Right? I mean,
It's just
this
a
is.
freaking Band-Aid.
Uh, so I don't know. Yeah.
But it's interesting because this is going to be completely tangential, and yet along those lines, I was getting an automatic writing this morning because I'm thinking about where the show's going this year, and I'm challenging myself, and I'm getting uncomfortable. We met with a dear friend who's helping us with the marketing side of things with our show and making our website more user friendly for people and giving people more of the content they want. That's why at the beginning there's an advertisement saying take the survey, and I encourage everybody take the survey. Let us know what you want on the show. And yesterday we were talking with him during a meeting where I quote didn't have time for the meeting. And I
Mm-hmm.
said, we're just going to drop it in anyway, because I've got to get uncomfortable to figure out how to move out of my current paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
And he's saying, well, we could do this beta test with this survey. And then based on that, we could do this beta test. And then based on that, and based on that. And my inner beingness is going, oh, dear Lord, I have no idea how I'm going to keep up with this.
Mm-hmm.
And instead, I breathed into it, talked to my inner child, and said, it's going to be all right. We're going to get through this. And I said, Jim, I have no idea about what a lot of you're talking about is. I don't pretend to be the expert. I don't pretend to have all the answers. I said, if you will walk me through this, I will jump through any hoop for you. You're just going to have to guide me along. And that is so the antithesis of my ego, which wanted to control each step of it. And Jessica's sitting next to me. She probably had her jaw hitting the floor. Did he just say what I thought he said? That he's going to completely abdicate control and whatever happens, happens?
So, one of the concepts of
We love you, Jim.
yeah, so one of the concepts is there's three powers of consciousness: will, knowledge, and action, and it's about acting from not your personal will, but a divine will. It's acting through, so it's that will, your divine will versus acting from divine action versus your action, and the will, knowledge, and what did I say? Will, knowledge, and from a divine, like kind of higher knowledge versus your own. And so what I noticed that you did in just that brief pause, right? You went, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about. And it's that moment where it's the truth, right? But it's like, but I'm here with you and I'm here to support you. And in this meditation retreat, my teacher was saying how oftentimes we need to put duct tape over our mouths because we just want to go like, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. Jim, do whatever you want. Or like, show me again the plan, put it in an email and I'll read it later. That's kind of like maybe when you want control over the situation. But when you go, divine has brought me Jim, right? And he comes with a set of knowledge, some of which I don't have to know all of this. Thank God Jim knows a good portion of this, and I trust Jim. And when I need to be involved, Divine will also lead me to be involved. But right now, at this stage, when he has many triangulating decision trees, I don't have to be involved.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think that that's a beautiful thing. In fact, what my teacher told me, I said, so I'm doing my spiritual checkup. What do I need to work on? And he said, you need to do less action and to just tune in. And he said, and when I said, but I have so many intuitions of what I should do, he's like, yeah. And if you sit with that more, you'll get more refined intuition. Like,
I love
and
it.
and if you don't act, it will come back. It's gonna keep on coming back. So just be in a place of stillness. And so before someone like Jim comes in and comes up with this grand marketing plan that you can't right at this juncture, just don't know. But I trust you, and when you need my help, I'm there. I think that's just perfect to
The
do.
last point, thank you. The last point I have for the show, actually, this dovetails perfectly. You said
Hmm.
at this stage, and what I had just written down is setting the stage.
Hmm.
Because each day in intention work, I set the stage of what I want to accomplish or move toward or what's most important. and I know where we're going, and I know I need assistance, and I know I have to get really uncomfortable for it,
Mm-hmm.
I have set the stage for my subconscious to be patient or to step back rather than to panic and go, "Oh my God, I have no idea how to do this." Because that would be my natural reaction
Right.
would be
What? Yeah.
exactly. But I set the stage each day, and getting back to our intro, when Jessica lost it last week, and then I lost it with Jessica, and we did the lost it dance together. What I got out of automatic writing and have been using to set the stage each day since then is a very cute acronym to me, SCR. Our dog, our coyote, my coyote mix, or I was hers
Mm-hmm.
for over 17 years. Her name was Pumpkin, but I called her affectionately Pumpsker. And so the SCR is the end of that. And SCR, which is now what I start my intention work and probably end my intention work each morning now. SCR stands for stable, calm, courageous, relaxed.
Mm.
When I plant that each morning, that today I will be stable like a rock for Jessica. I will be calm no matter what. I will lean forward into the fear, open hearted, liqueur, courageous, and I will relax into all of it. Then, when beautiful Jim says, well, we can do this part, we could beta test, we can split this, and we could do this, and we could do that, and we could do the other, and I'm hearing tilt, 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 I go, wait. My subconscious goes, your goal today was SCR, stable, calm, courageous, relaxed. All right, Jim, I don't pretend to know all of what you're talking about,
Right.
but if you will guide me, let's do this.
You know, I talked to during the meditation retreat. There's so many concepts because there's so many different things, each of which is going to work differently and better for one person or another. And so I said, okay, I'm trying to synthesize all these things because that's what I do when I'm sitting in class. I'm synthesizing. I said, just give me like a 3-step process. Like I just need one. And so he said, in the morning, you wake up, and so this is a different diagnostic from SCR. So you make sure your heart is open because anything that you do when your heart is not open is going to be coming from a contracted state of consciousness. Just automatically, that's one thing, is just open up your heart. And then once you open up your heart, you feel the life current running through you. Like you're like, ah, I can feel my breath. And then I'm like, I can feel my breath. And that's kind of a surrogate for, initially, it's like a grosser versus a subtler form of the energy that's kind of running through you, or up and down the core of your being. And then you just get still. And then he was saying that one of the things that I'm focusing on, that I need to focus on, is to see everything through my third eye. So instead of kind of, oh, keep your heart open, but just like open up your third eye and see the world through your third eye. So get that set up, setting the stage for that first. And then throughout the day, just constantly like, okay, I'm meeting with Jim. What's not working? Oh, my heart's not open. Or I'm not tuning into my breath, which means I'm not my body. I'm not embodied. I'm not conscious. My heart's not open, so I'm not going to be conscious. I'm not tuning into my inner core. Therefore, I'm not conscious. And then I'm not seeing things through I'm seeing things not through a higher level perspective, but just kind of an egoic perspective. And that's kind of a different version of SCR for that I'm going to be trying. But it
You
is setting up the
set an
stage.
intention. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you practice, like this whole day, I've been trying, it's been the integration after coming back from 2 weeks of meditation is just
Always
extraordinarily hard. I went to Starbucks, and the woman's like, so anyways, I have this. And then they're like, yeah, well, we don't have the Gouda sandwich, but we do have this other sandwich because the other sandwich usually sells up really fast because the truck doesn't necessarily come every week. But then sometimes because it's snowing, it doesn't come. And I was like, goo. My brain was just
you
like,
just hit me with more energy than I've had in the last 2 weeks
I know.
combined.
It's like, oh, just like it was literally like, when you turn on the TV, it used to be a long time ago, and you just get that signal. Just the equivalent. I mean, I heard everything that she said, but it was just like, oh my gosh. that
I
energy coming at me, and I was just like, go back into your center, go back into your center. And I just sat there looking at her through my third eye. I'm like, hmm. But it's
I
crazy.
cried coming off of Maui and some deep meditation. I came back to like San Diego or something at the start of a book tour. Actually, I think I went from Maui. I think I went and I meditated like for days in the Grand Canyon, meditated
Mm.
some other place, found myself in a Whole Foods with a woman freaking out at a salad bar in front of me. And I
It's
think
so,
I cried. Pretty
I
sure I
really
did.
can't. I can't deal with lots of energy right now. Or other people's energies. It just seems like chaos. That and then just like even trying to order a coffee, I'm like, what? You want me to pick whether it's caffeinated or decaffeinated, and what cup I have to pick, and like what kind of milk? I'm like, Jesus, like this is a lot. You don't understand how taxing this is for me. I can barely form a sentence, let alone answer four questions in rapid succession. It's just crazy. So, anyhow.
Any last words? I've got to wrap things up and get to a
No.
coaching client.
Okay, I'm good. Any last words for you?
Just like what you're doing. I want people to picture whatever is taking place in their life as a snow, rather than a snowball, as a snow globe. You know,
Hmm.
it's shaken up, the snow is going around, you can't see clearly. I want you to sit with it. I want you to be with it. I want you to look at it without judgment and see what you can learn from it. Then you can shake it up and play with it again, but just observe this thing. And that observation of whatever it is, even the freaky tiki Starbucks energy, will change everything.
Yeah, I
It'll
think that
change
and keeping
everything.
centered, like understanding that you're in the center of the snow globe and not like, okay, the snow globe is getting tipped upside down. The snow globe is shaken up upside down, but there's like a core that runs through the whole snow globe from the top to
We've
bottom.
all spun a snow globe before.
Hmm.
And what you find is that the snow in there is moving around the outside
Hmm.
when you spin it. You can be, like you're saying, the core, you can be the calm at the center of the storm, even when stuff's spinning around you. And you can observe it spinning rather than hopefully be the spin.
Yes.
So, for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler and
CJ Lou from the Fired Up with CJ show.
saying, be well, have fun, get back on that horse, observe, learn, and don't be afraid to try again, whatever it is. And above and beyond all else, shine bright.
Woo!
It means so much to me that you're listening to the show and would love your support in any way by giving me comments below or to subscribe to the show or share the show with friends. Thank you again for your support. Love and blessings.